Luman comes back. The man who spent years in a prison adjacent role, separated from his daughter, kept useful but not free, he comes back. And the court doesn't collapse. Nobody riots. Nobody rewrites the rules. The maids go back to their routines. Maomao goes back to her medicines. The pavilion keeps running exactly the way it always did. And that moment, that quiet, unremarkable return to normal, is actually the most honest thing this show does. Because that's what the end of a story looks like inside a closed system. Not a revolution, not a reckoning, just the world exhaling and continuing. Most stories teach you to expect a certain shape. Something bad happens, someone fights back, the wrong gets corrected, and then the world looks different than it did before. The Apothecary Diaries doesn't do that. And by the time the season 2 ends, it's clear that's not an accident. What it does instead is something more specific and more unsettling if you pay attention. It shows you a system that corrects itself, not because justice happened, but because the disruption became inconvenient. Concubine Jin was poisoned, Lady Shin hid a sick servant, people were manipulated, deceived, occasionally killed, and in every single case, the resolution isn't about fairness, it's about restoring function. The problem gets removed, the court keeps moving. That's the pattern, and episode after episode, the finale included, the show lets it happen without pretending it's satisfying. Let's go back to Luman. His situation in this world is specific. He is a doctor, an exceptional one. He helped deliver the current emperor. He knows things about the imperial bloodline that make him valuable and dangerous at the same time. So the system didn't get rid of him. It kept him contained but alive, useful but not free. That's not cruelty for cruelty's sake. That's administration. And when he finally comes back, when that situation resolves, it's not because someone stood up and demanded justice, it's because the conditions around him shifted. The people holding those pieces moved. The political geometry changed just enough. He returns. Maomao gets something she was missing, and the world moves on. What's interesting is how the show frames this. It doesn't ask you to celebrate it too loudly. The reunion is real and it matters, but the circumstances that created the separation in the first place, those don't get examined. Nobody is punished for them. Nobody publicly admits what happened. The system that ground him down just quietly stopped. That's not closure, that's correction. Here is the thing about closed systems that the show understands deeply. They don't reform, they adjust. When Lady Shin is exiled, the pavilion keeps running. When the Western envoys leave, the court returns to its rhythms. When the poisoning cases get solved, the same hierarchy that allowed those conditions to exist is still fully intact. Nobody dismantles it. Nobody even suggests that the structure itself was the problem. Maomao solves the case. The case gets solved, the world stays the same. And you could read that as cynicism, but I don't think that's quite right, because the show isn't saying nothing matters. It's saying something more specific. It's saying that what matters is survival, and survival inside a closed system doesn't look like change. It looks like endurance, knowing which rooms to avoid, which questions not to ask out loud, which people to keep close without letting them too close. The world doesn't change in the Apothecary Diaries. It clears its throat, adjusts its posture, and the people who are still standing are the ones who understood that from the beginning. Maomao is the clearest expression of how this works. She's not trying to change the system. At no point does she look around the rear palace and think, this structure is wrong, I need to fix it. She thinks, this problem is in front of me, I can solve it, I will solve it, and then I will go back to my medicines. That's it. That's the whole philosophy. And in another story, that would feel like defeat, like someone too broken or too small to imagine anything better. But the show frames it differently. Her detachment isn't failure, it's precision. She has looked at this world clearly, without romanticizing it or despairing over it, and she has found the exact angle from which she can be useful without being consumed. She doesn't need the world to change to survive it. She just needs to understand it more clearly than it understands her. That's a very specific kind of power, and it's the only kind that actually works here. By the end of the season 2, there is a particular feeling the show leaves you with. Not triumph, not grief, something quieter than both. The cases are solved, the bad actors are removed or neutralized, the relationships are a little warmer than they were before, Luman is back, Pavilion continues, and Maomao is still here, still observant, still careful, still exactly as capable as she has always been. Nothing changed, and somehow that feels okay. I think the reason is this: the show never pretended change was available. It didn't set up a revolution and fail to deliver it. It showed you a world honestly, where power corrects for disruption, and not for justice, where survival is a skill rather than a reward, where quiet endurance is a real form of strength, and then it lets its characters live inside that world with dignity. That's why the ending feels calm, not because everything is fine, but because the people who mattered made it through. They are still here. The world exhaled, and tomorrow looks like today. That's not a tragedy. In a place like this, that's a win. So is the Apothecary Diaries a hopeful show? I think it's something more precise than that. It's an honest show, one that looks at how power actually moves, not how we want it to, and finds something worth caring about inside that reality anyway. The world doesn't change, it clears its throat, but the people who survive it, they are worth watching. So that's it for me. The rest of the series is up if you want to go deeper. Links will be down below and on the screen. And I'm curious, does this kind of ending feel satisfying to you, or does it leave you wanting something the show never intended to give? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next Apothecary Diaries video. We still have, I think, around 3 videos left. So if you've been enjoying this series, you have still a lot to look forward to. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.